The Politics program is brought to you, as always, by patreon.com/JURY. Support the show if you want. If you don't want to support the show, you don't have to support the show, but this is a show that very much enjoys your support, so go ahead and check it out, man. We're trying to bring an absolutely new style of political commentary to the big stage, and it does not happen if you guys do not support it. That is also where you get my one mic show, Jury, so you can get 4 hours of content for whatever you want. It's the best deal on the internet. You know, you want to give a buck, man. You want to, we charge you weekly, so it's a super cool time. Go ahead and check it out. Patreon.com/JURY. But enough talking about how we support the show. What do you say we actually do it?
Politics.
Politics. Been a while since we've done the show. Congratulations, you get a show without English. Win. All up in your ear hole. Hi, everybody. It's me. I'm Justin Robert Young. I do a show called Politics. But then again, you probably already knew that because you're listening to it. On this episode of the show, we are returning back to the Oakland studio. The Jury Moore studio is in fine working order. I can report after 2 weeks off, where I was traveling literally the world, or at least, the Western world. I went from America to London, not like I really did any kind of massive traveling. Everywhere spoke English, except for South Florida. Man, it's hard to come back. Did I miss anything? Anything happen while I was gone? Anything of note? All right, quick poll. Did I pick the worst 2 weeks to not be doing the show? Yes or no? Did I pick the worst 2 weeks to not be doing the show? Because I feel like there's a lot of contenders of 2 weeks. Like, I feel like the next 2 weeks will be more boring than the last 2 weeks were. Because let's remember where we were when I left. Like, Trump had what many people considered to be the worst week a presidential candidate could have before a tape of him talking about pussy grabbery broke, right? Like, that was, you don't show up to a debate unprepared when you are just now edging back into the race. You don't shamelessly fall into yet another of the most simplistic Tom and Jerry traps that the Clinton campaign had laid for him. In this case, it was getting into a conversation on whether or not, Alicia Machado's thigh gap 20 years ago was exactly something that needed to be brought to the presidential stage, where really the only actual issue there was whether or not he was going to selflessly bash himself, he being Trump, selfishly bash his campaign in its own nutsack with another different, distraction. Then he gets busted for this pussy tape. Then he decides that the only way that he can fight back on the pussy tape is to bring out just, the Guardians of the Galaxy for Clinton accusers. Although it'll always just be Journey with the Filipino kid, as long as that group doesn't have Monica Lewinsky, right? If you were going to bring out the Clinton accuser Beatles, the Paul McCartney is Lewinsky. And if Lewinsky's not there, then it's just kind of the B squad. If Donald Trump could bring out Monica Lewinsky, this whole thing goes to another level, right? We're digressing. But then again, it's about the Trump campaign. So maybe that's, kind of the point. in this surrealist, Dadaist world of a presidential campaign. Maybe really it's the digressions that matter and not necessarily anything that's happened. I want to give a couple shout outs here. Number one, there was a beautiful man who spent my entire vacation updating an Evernote. I used it during the London show, but I do want to give him a big shout out. That is Joshua. So thank you so much to Joshua. I'll tell you what, I would really love for him to continue to help with the actual doc for as long as we do this show. I will say this, to update everybody. The idea of taking this show 3 days a week was theoretically in preparation for us taking it 5 days a week with with the BitTorrent News Network. While I was gone, BitTorrent fired both of its CEOs and has now sent all of its current expansion projects kind of back to the drawing board. The way that it was just the health of the BitTorrent News Network was described to me by somebody that brought me into the fold to begin with was simply the scene from Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail, where the person is coming up, bring out your dead, and the one family's trying to get rid of the annoying member of the family by saying he's dead, and whilst he responds, I'm not dead yet. So that's how BitTorrent News is faring. But I have no idea how long we're going to do this show. It is looking more likely than ever, considering the tenor of this election, that we might end the show on Election Day. We will see, though. And I will say this, having somebody step up and offer to help, filter through stuff to the doc is very helpful to me. So thank you very much to Josh. Let me tell you one thing that I hope does not happen. And I don't know if this would be an omen that I would feel the need to continue the show or I would feel the need to end the show. But I think it would be one of them. It would either, and we're going to find this out immediately on November 8th. Immediately. Or as Trump has said, November 28th. We are going to immediately find this out the minute the election is decided. And I will tell you this. If this happens, I will also know instantaneously whether or not I need to get ready for I think we'll probably do a Wednesday show for sure. But whether or not I'm going to do a Thursday show. And I don't know which way it's going to affect me. But I don't want it to happen. I want to be able to kind of make a general decision along with the audience on whether or not we want this to continue, as soon as the nation stops edging and achieves climax on deciding who the leader of the free world is. But it is this. And this is something that's kind of popped up over the last 2 weeks while I was gone. I desperately would not like for the following thing to happen. In Donald Trump's remarks on losing the election, should he lose the election. But you want to know what? Euphemistically, I'll say anybody. I would very much be excited if nobody did this. Assuming, I don't think that Hillary Clinton would do it, but I think Donald Trump might. Using the phrase, in the coming days. Because this is something that Trump has used repeatedly when talking about these sexual assault accusations. He said, in the coming days, we will provide evidence. We will be talking a lot about Bill Clinton's sexual dalliances in the coming days. In the coming days, we will continue to address these issues. On November 8th, I want there to be no more coming days. I want there to be 0 more coming days. I want there to be just, we are done. We are done within the coming days. I want that to be the end of it. Because I don't have time for that, man. I lived through, literally, I was at ground zero for the Florida recount. And it was one of the most balls out, amazing experiences in my entire life. It made me love every little bit about it. Because at least that was a recount, right? Like, that's what democracy is. Things are very close, so you take another look through the ballots, and you start to make judgments and decisions on exactly what counts as a ballot. That's democracy. Donald Trump, who has, stop me if you heard this, a bit of a cavalier attitude to his dictionary, has taken to using the term rigged. True story that has nothing to do with anything. At one point, a family friend was going for a job he was a police officer, but he wanted to become part of the boat police, the maritime element of the city's police chief or police force. When listing the skills he had to become part of, the boat police, basically, for the city, he had noted that he was an experienced boat rigger. Boat rigger. At which point, a prankster who had overseen his application decided to just write the one little, just to complete the R down to the floor and pass it on to his superior. A good laugh was had by all. So for whatever reason, whenever I hear the word red or rigged, whenever I hear the word rigged, I just have that very inappropriate story of people playing pranks on each other bounce through my head. Let's move on. Donald Trump says the election's rigged. He says the media is rigged. He says everything is rigged. He says Twitter is rigged. Everything's rigged. I've been spending a lot of time reading the Reddit home for Donald Trump a lot. r/_the Donald, or under the _Donald. If you've not seen this Reddit board, here's what it looks like if you're watching us live. It is a fairly, I think it's an important place to read if you want to get a sense of what online Trumpism is, the online Trump fan base. I will say this, they are a very excited bunch. They love the Donald. It is a place for Pepes. It is a place for every train metaphor you've ever heard in your life. They love it. But there is a sense that, again, I mean, the prevailing international theory that I think is misunderstood in this election, and it was also in the Brexit, man, that I talk a lot about the Brexit over the last 2 weeks, is this idea, it's a fundamental idea that manifests itself in many different ways, that power is moving further and further away from us. And we are losing control of the decision-making that we have in America, but as we saw in the UK, also something like Brexit. So the idea that the media are paid toadies for the Democratic National Committee, or the Clinton family specifically, is not new. That's been around for a while. The idea that the election itself is rigged is something that tends to get bounced back and forth between the two parties. I remember reading my fair share of comments about the Diebold conspiracy in the voting machines in Ohio. That was the reason why George Bush had won in Ohio, was because some specious connection between the Halliburton company and the Bush campaign and the Diebold computers that run those voting machines, and that was the issue. Basically, whenever there is one party having articles written about it, that this is the end of that party, as they were writing that this was the end of the Democratic Party back in the early aughts, And now we have learned men and women writing articles about how this is the end of the Republican Party. That's when we started to get these rigged accusations. But at the end of the day, normally the rigged accusations kind of go away because every candidate has to invest in the game. The game brings them opportunity. They respect the game. The game then rewards them should they play the game correctly and punish them should they play it incorrectly. But you've got to respect the game. Here's the difference. Here's the big difference. I don't know if Donald Trump has any respect for this game at all. Because I don't think he's ever running for office again, win or lose. I don't think he obviously, as he continues to take shots at Paul Ryan, because that's a helpful thing to do. I think he doesn't care if he casts a pall over all of this. And more to the point, if we are to follow some of the stories that are coming out today from the Financial Times, that Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is doing what has long been rumored, and that is seeking money and a deal to put together a television network. That, in fact, if he gets to launch a television network on the back of Donald Trump continuing his campaign to prove how he unjustly lost the presidential election because it is rigged for bleep, blop, bloop, and bling, you know, I wonder whether or not that's better content than him just saying, well, here is another conservative media platform. You know, it's you know, Chimera in the chat room right now says Trump cares not for the chess game because he's playing Flip Cup. Yeah, an open bayou says Democrats had the conspiracy that Karl Rove flipped the Ohio election in 2004. Kerry's was counted by Karl Rove's company, and Bush won Ohio. Look it up, man. I'm just saying that the election was rigged is not a Republican thing. Over the past 10 years, it's been more of a Democratic thing. But again, at that point, the Democrats, the thought was maybe that the demographics were shifting in a way that was not friendly to Democrats. So I don't know. I just don't want to hear it. I want this election to be done. I want us to focus on the surely smooth sailing of a Hillary Clinton administration or a Donald Trump administration. Whoever gets in, let's just focus on that. You know, as much as I am just a greedy little pig for presidential elections, and I love every morsel of it, and I'll be just counting the days until we get another one, I'm done with this one. We have wrung this washcloth about as dry as we can, and lo, the bounty has been plenty. But, you know, all good things must come to an end. But before we do, I do want to get into one of the silliest things that has happened so far while I was gone. This is pointed out to me by Laura via email. So there have been now, I guess, close to 12 women that have come forward and accused Donald Trump of some degree of sexual assault, usually defined by breast groping, unwanted kissing, and some grabbing of the nethers, right? One of the women that came forward said that Donald Trump did lean in and give her an unwanted kiss on the mouth, was someone by the name of Jennifer Murphy. Let's go ahead and listen to Jennifer's account of things. Let's skip to the middle here. Oh wait, hold on. We're still playing John Cena's theme song. Here we go.
For president. But can you tell us that the kiss itself happened at Trump Tower at some point?
You know, so this is something that frustrates me about the media and journalism. I mentioned at one point, yes, he kissed me on the lips, but that's what they want to focus on. It was a small kiss. It was after he had fired me on The Apprentice. He called me the next day and said, I still want to give you an opportunity to work for me. I was very impressed with you. So after several meetings and getting to know him more, he walked me to the elevator at one point, and he did reach in and give me a little kiss. And I was a little surprised, but I wasn't offended, and I could have turned away. And I really think that we need to take these incidents into account and make sure that we don't let the media spin anything out of control and put words in our mouth. And that's why I'm excited for the opportunity to speak from my heart and, you know, talk about the incident. They're calling it the incident, and Jennifer Murphy speaks out. And, you know,
Jennifer Murphy. Jennifer Murphy. Now, let's be clear. Jennifer Murphy supports Donald Trump for president. Jennifer Murphy wants to be clear that she is not here to pile on, that yes, it's a thing that happened. Yes, it kind of surprised her, but by and large, Donald Trump has not only been a gentleman to her, but someone that has supported her career. And, more specifically, supported her when others would not. Stood up for her because she felt he saw something in her when others were very dismissive. But some of you know where this is going. Some of you know that we know in the Diamond Club Jennifer Murphy for something quite different. Yes, we know Jennifer Murphy because there was a viral video that happened over the summer where this very same lady did a funny little song. She, at a premiere, a red carpet, a pink carpet, I think it was called, premiere for her Murphy Bed Company. She is Jennifer Murphy, and she does Murphy Beds. She decided to debut this song. Let's see if you can sing along with it in 3 notes.
He pulled a ninja move. It got me to be cool. You know what? Maybe I too could be ninja. I want to be ninja. I want to be ninja. I want to chop, 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 chow down. Take chow down to Chinatown. I want to be ninja. I started training. I think I could go far.
I mean, listen, folks, I am all for this election going as crazy as you could possibly want it to be, right? Like, we have just entered in to such a bizarre area of this election that we are now at the same level of discourse that the Night Attack pre-show is, right? Like, now we are delving into videos that we have become obsessed about on our meme hotline show where we just diagnose silly memes all the time. And now Jennifer Murphy is somebody that we need to pay attention to her political opinions because it may or may not sway the electorate. Oh my God. Mel says, so this election is one giant Night Attack show. I mean, it might as well. I mean, at this point, it might as well. If all of a sudden you were watching Don Lemon and he was bringing on Corey Lewandowski and everybody else that he normally has, and then just says, and also live from a pirate ship, we have Captain Morgan. Ahoy! That's where I grab 'em too. Beep, bop, boop. The captain's here. Like, I would not be shocked, right? Would you be shocked? And I do the voice for Captain Morgan. Like I think this is where this election has finally landed. In just the theater of the absurd. And by the way, she mentions the ninja video in this clip on CNN. Let's go ahead and hear it from Jennifer Murphy herself. Here we go.
Which Which I understand, which is why we wanted to put you on so you could tell your story, Jennifer, and have everyone respect
I really
that you
appreciate
feel
that, Erin.
that you feel
Thank
differently
you.
than many others. But I do ask you one question, because there now are 11 women who have come forward, and it's simply this. Do you believe them all?
I can only speak from my own personal experience. So I know that I've been falsely accused in my life. I'm out in the public. I'm a YouTube star. I recently was accused of being a racist because I did a funny ninja Asian accent in a funny song, and they've pigeonholed me as a racist, one isolated incident. So I know that we really have to be careful, and we have to take everything into consideration, and we can't jump to conclusions.
Now you know that she is a true Trump surrogate. In defending her man, Donald Trump, she brings up, this apparently is just how we do politics now. From Gary Johnson to Donald Trump to Jennifer Murphy. It's just, as you are digging yourself out of a hole, talk about how you got in the hole, therefore deepening it, right? You know, you could just say, no, like, the question isn't even about the video. The question is about, do you believe all the other women? For which she can say, I don't know. I would not like to speculate on that. That's what he's just moving on. I mean, how the hell is she? Was she clairvoyant? Like, how is she going to know if these women are lying? You know, you can have a base opinion on, like, oh, well, I believe all people who come out, right? Or you can say, as you know, reddit.com/r/the_Donald says, you can say, well, it's very suspicious that all these women are coming out so close to the election. Whatever you want. But what you don't have to do is mention the fact that earlier this summer, you were in a racial flap regarding your I Want to Be Ninja video. Right? You don't need to do it. And yet she does it. She's having her Aleppo moment. And by the way, check out Alicia Machado's sex tape. Like, this is just all we do. This is all we do from here on out. Is just continue to you've got two shovels, one digging out and one tossing it back in. You know? Just whatever. It's fine. What is Aleppo? Okay, one more thing. People, they hit me up all the time. Justin, if there's one element of this election that you are very, very well suited to talk about, is this controversy. Now, one of the women that has accused Donald Trump of sexual assault says that it happened during a flight to the UK, I believe, and that he was all over her, that he was pawing her breasts and everything, and part of the counterclaim to that, aside from having an eyewitness who was allegedly there saying that it couldn't possibly have happened, is an argument about the armrests in first class. That armrests in first class do not raise. So I don't know enough about the cabins in that period of time. I mean, I think like I've seen like some layouts of what the plane would be and how hard it would be to grope. I will say that I have flown over the past 4 years, more so than I ever had in my life, because I was traveling for business in first class. And when you have status as a 1K flyer on United, you tend to get upgraded to first class more so than, you would if you were just buying a ticket, which is never. I will say this. I have encountered more so in first class seats that do not have raisable armrests. They have physical blocks between you and the next person. But I will also say this. Not only in seats without raisable armrests. Have I groped my wife? But I have done it multiple times. It is not something that would stop somebody from groping. It is not a force field. It is not something that would the barrier. You just gotta reach over, right? It's just kind of doing a swim move, as if you were trying to get past an offensive lineman. Like it's not that big of a deal. I don't know why anybody would say it's not like, oh, well, there was a protective bubble that came down in first class. It's just you can get there. There's no reason why you could not grope somebody because the armrest doesn't come up. Now, sure, it's going to block the submarine move. If you want to pull that band camp bus move where you just throw over a blanket and then try to tunnel like Bugs Bunny, like to the promised land, yeah, you can't do that. If you were trying to do that, yes, the fact that there's a physical barrier between the laps of the two people, absolutely, that's true. It's harder to do that. You would need Mr. Fantastic like elasticity of your arms to pull that same move and finger bang your neighbor. However, I will say this. It is not only possible, but I've groped my wife in first class with non-movable armrests. That's all. Listen, all I can do is bring you my personal experience. I wanted to speak out on that as somebody who has sat in first class and groped consensually his wife. Let's go ahead and take a look at Map Monday. Map Monday is where we take a look at one particular state and try to find out what in the hot hell is going on. This week, we take a look at the great state of the Utah, because we have some insane polling happening right now. Let's go ahead and take a look. This is Trump versus Clinton versus McMillan versus Johnson versus Stein. Now, many of you might remember that when I did a interview with Bill Weld at the Democratic National Convention for BitTorrent News, Bill Weld seemed to believe that the Libertarian Party had a shot at winning Utah outright. And he pointed to some of the low polling numbers for Trump and Clinton in general. But let's go ahead and take a look at a Heat Street Rasmussen poll out today. That is from the 14th to the 16th, 750 likely voters, 4% margin of error. Donald Trump, 30%. Hillary Clinton, 28%. Evan McMillan, a Mormon, 29%. Johnson, 5%. Stein, 1%. That is a Trump 1-point lead over Evan McMillan. Now, to be fair, there was a CBS News YouGov poll that came out on the 14th that had Trump up 17, but there was a Monmouth poll with Trump up only 6 not too long ago on the 12th, 403 likely voters. But Evan McMillan polling very strong, at least in the low 20s, if not the high 20s. Hillary Clinton fluctuating about in that same neighborhood, and Donald Trump fluctuating anywhere between 37 to 30%. Let's understand this about Utah. It's about as reliably red as you can get. And when you talk about what brings this election from bad to like uncensored Gigi Allen poop show for the Republicans, it's being on the verge of losing to a third-party candidate in Utah. I don't even know what would be worse, whether or not he would lose to Hillary or he would lose to a third party. I mean, I guess Evan McMillan would be preferable to Paul Ryan because that means that there's a lot of dejected conservative voters who are saying, well, Evan McMillan is my hole in the sheet to not vote for Trump but also not vote for Clinton. Crossing my religious metaphors here. But that's insane. I believe Utah has not. Let's see. Utah last time Utah voted Democratic. Yeah. I think it was FDR. Oh, no, sorry. 1964. 1964 was the last time voting for Lyndon Baines Johnson over Barry Goldwater. So, wow, yeah, they do not like the Maverick Republicans. Just insane. Just insane. By the way, in that election, LBJ won his home state of Texas, which is another thing that, is probably closer than the Republicans want. I mean, this is like I'm in a weird place. I'm in a weird place right now. And we're going to get to some of the emails, but like there's a lot of evidence, of mounting evidence that says that this is over. This is done. Because now we're not talking about whether or not the polls could be off a few points in Ohio or Florida, right? We're looking at points coming off the board for Trump. We're looking at Utah possibly being off the board for Trump. Now he's got to make things up. I mean, like, again, we're normally talking about by the character sheet, you get X amount of electoral votes and you get X amount of electoral votes. If there's like fluctuation there, I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. Like it looks harder and harder for me to see that map being a random JO on the internet, right? But it's getting harder and harder to say, all right, well, here's how the pathway goes. Here's how Trump wins. And meanwhile, listen, again, we want to be one of those people that, takes a look at some of the silliness of the election. But, I mean, like, let's just roll down Trump's last few tweets. You've got him touting a CNN poll in Ohio that has him up 4 points, which you better hope you're leading in Ohio if you want to win the presidency. Although he's been talking about how terrible CNN and how rigged their polls are, but now they're good. You've got, him continuing to go after Paul Ryan. Let's see. This was yesterday. Well, this is 6 hours ago. This is this morning. Can't believe totally phony stories 100% made up by women, many already proven false, pushed big time by press and have impact. So now he's saying that at least these stories do have an impact, but they're fake. Also, by the way, please pay attention to everybody on Hillary's side. We're flogging the WikiLeaks stuff, but it's like, this is yesterday, 20 hours ago. Wow. Interview released by WikiLeaks shows a quid pro quo in crooked Hillary's email probe. Such a dishonest person. And Paul Ryan does zilch. Like, you still want to win Wisconsin. Right? You know who would help you win Wisconsin? Paul Ryan. You know what the best way that you could get Paul Ryan to help you at this point is literally just hope that everything he is doing to buoy his own chances for Republican voters to come out in Wisconsin also helps your poll chances, right? Like, what is the point of this? What's the point of sniping? Here we go, 21 hours ago. Paul Ryan, a man who doesn't know how to win, including a failed run 4 years ago, must now start focusing on the budget, military, and vets, etc. Okay. Isn't that what he's doing? By not focusing on you? Also, how does the Republican nominee lighting him up on Twitter help with that? I don't know, man. I don't know. Because here's the thing. I want to be fair. I want to be fair to the Trump train, folks. Listen, man, I have not stopped hearing the whistle of the Trump train. I'm here for you guys just as I am here for the ARF for the Hill Dogs and the what is Aleppos of the Johnson folks. And the I'm polling worse than Ken Bone in Florida of the Jill Stein supporters. I want to be there to give you guys the kind of coverage that only somebody completely unchained from a major media system can give you guys. And I'm trying, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd. But you want to know what? Let's go ahead on over to our emails. Of course, you can email us, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Chris writes, been listening to your recent shows. Actually, no, you want to know what before that? Let's go ahead and talk about The Contender at thecontender.us. Here, let's go ahead and take a live look right now at where we are at. I believe we have less than 10%, or sorry, less than 10 of the Battle for St. Louis expansion. That is the Show Me State Showdown. All the quotes for The Contender that was from the St. Louis debate last weekend. That is all put together. We've already have the order in. That means we only have 10 more to sell. It is $10. It will also get you, for the first time ever, since we did our politically incorrect expansion, our explicit, politically incorrect, blue-faced card, grab blank right by the pussy. That's going to be in there. So go ahead and check that out. We only got 10 left. Once they're gone, they're gone. The Battle for St. Louis expansion. Check it out right now if you go to thecontender.us. Also, make sure you stay tuned to our Twitter feed. We are always looking for your favorite quotes during the last debate this week. And we'll be putting together our Battle for Nevada expansion as well. We expect that will go very fast as well. So go ahead and check it out. thecontender.us for the Battle for St. Louis expansion. All right. Emails. Justin Robert Young at gmail.com. Justin Robert Young at gmail.com. Chris writes, been listening to your recent shows, and it's a pretty evident exasperation with just how bad things have gotten, with deep sympathy. I also genuinely appreciate that you are doing your best to remain nonpartisan and keep your personal political allegiances from unfairly influencing the show. I think you do a very admirable job of that. Definitely much better than I would. But with all that said, I can't feel that there is a certain creeping element of false equivalence coming in with your recent criticism of Clinton. I'm not much of a Hill dog myself, arf, and I agree with you that her default position is evasive and has a real problem with being open. And yet, I really don't think that that's material from WikiLeaks on her evasive responses indicate that she is in any way unusual for a mainstream politician. I'm sure you're aware that sites like PolitiFact, Clinton actually comes out better or on the same level as most politicians on both sides in their terms of truthiness of their statements. Similarly, the vast majority of the WikiLeaks material really just revealed the type of backroom politicking that is going on within every political campaign. Take, for example, the supposed exclusive by Glenn Greenwald that reveals the shock and horror that Clinton and her team tried to influence the news cycle in their favor. By the end of the article, even Greenwald has to admit that it's not actually newsworthy or something particularly exclusive to Clinton. Quote, all presidential campaigns have their favorite reporters and try to plant stories that they want published and attempt in multiple ways to curry favor from journalists. These tactics are certainly not unique to the Clinton campaign. Remember that liberals were furious in 2008 when journalists went to John McCain's Arizona ranch for an off-the-record barbecue. So I read this, and thank you, Chris, for writing in, that really just to talk about PolitiFact. I want to talk about PolitiFact real quick, because I think that they do yeoman's work in trying to fact-check everything that comes out of these campaigns' mouth, and it is hard, slippery work to do. But I think we need to at least keep in context that all that PolitiFact can do is point out the worst of the bald-faced lies. Lies that are very easily fact-checked against. And not necessarily the kind of double talk that normally comes out of an experienced campaign. That they're never going to hang their ass out to dry so hard that it's going to be fact-checked in 2 Google strokes, right? And that's what I think we are dealing with. And people are like, well, look at Hillary Clinton's PolitiFact rating. It's like, no, she's just saying things in a way that are couched so that it's hard to fact check against. And that's fine. Like, she should do that. Like, but let's not conflate that with one person's telling the truth and one person's not, right? One person's lying well and one person's lying poorly. If they're lying, I mean, lying's a loaded term. I mean, they are getting their message out in a way that is hard to discern exactly what they're saying well, and one is saying something that's easily fact-checked against. So, like Tom Weber says, fact-checker sites are not infallible or without bias themselves. Sure, yeah, but that goes for life, right? All I'm saying is they're checking for a very specific thing. They're checking for sloppy politicians. And that's pretty much it. They're not checking for the truth. They're checking for shoddy workmanship. Derek writes, love the show. I just wanted to share a recent poll that really puts support for Jill Stein in perspective, and that is a poll that shows, indeed, Ken Bone led Jill Stein during a recent poll in Florida. Keep up the great podcast. Eric from Rhode Island made the point that Lincoln Chafee, in a recent Esquire article, blamed his failed presidential campaign on his decision to focus more on the metric system. God bless Lincoln Chafee. Mike writes, ARF, you get 1 ARF out of me. 2 things out of the last episode. You mentioned that you wanted Bill Clinton's pet project as first gentleman to be twerking. I don't think he'll be the first gentleman. I'm guessing daughter Chelsea will be more in the role as White House hostess. I think Bill taking on that role and the oddity of it would overshadow his own 8 years as president. I actually disagree with you. I just think that it won't be something, and this is a gender-loaded term, right? But I don't think it'll be as feminine as most first lady roles normally are. I think it will be more on fundraising, or it'll be more on peace processy stuff. I think he'll just be chief diplomat, and not necessarily chief domestic program that normally revolves around children. And so you get that kind of the maternal element of it makes it uncontroversial for first ladies, in my opinion. I think you're going to get him more in a diplomatic role as first gentleman. Although, again, I would like to see him focus primarily on twerking. And 2, you wanted leaders where the buck stops with them. In years past, I could see this, but today's political climate, where members of Congress have openly said they will stop any and all bills, budgets, and nominations, it's a little hard to take blame when the only word out of the other side is no. No, Mike, that's the point. The buck stops with the president. Like, it's the president's job to keep trying. Always, in my opinion. And it is the hallmark of a good president that you do the proper horse trading to get things done behind the scenes. That's the sausage being made, right? That's the point. So there was a quote from Obama the other day about it's hard because, sometimes I'll just have to stay away and work with some of these guys in secret because they know it's bad for their base. Yeah. If that's what you need to do, then just do it. Don't talk about it. Don't look to get credit. You're supposed to feed your kids. That's your job as president. I want stopped bucks. No more buck passing. Come on. Just a little accountability, please. Jim writes, short beats long, so I'll say bravo for your buck stops comments at the end of your last minisode. I agree. If it were just about reveling in the entertainment value of this year's horse race / poop show, I'd be having the time of my life. Sadly, one of these people is almost guaranteed to win, and most likely Hillary. I'd say we deserve better, but a day on Facebook says otherwise. We've brought this on ourselves. Thanks for providing some smiles and balance into the chaos. Well, thank you so much. I really much appreciate it. Okay, real quick, programming notes. We are going to continue to do, of course, our 3 days a week right up until the election. However, we are going to be doing a few more interviewee episodes because I think we've got some really, really cool people on deck that will give another sense of this election because I feel like we're kind of moving into this post-mortem element of it anyway. So I'm going to gun for at least one episode each week to be an interview episode. Maybe live, may not be, but be expected for that. If there's anybody that you really would love me to try to run down, then hit me up at Justin R. Young, of course. You can email me, theyoungamerican@gmail.com, and you can buy The Contender at thecontender.us. Again, 10 of those St. Louis expansions remaining, and then we got the final mini expansion. That is the Battle for Nevada. That goes live on Wednesday. Music is always provided by Valesco and Trop Killers. You can follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. Thank you so much to everybody who did the drought with me over the last 2 weeks. Of course, you can download episodes of this show at bonerwars.com. You're on Snapchat. Just give me a welcome back on Snapchat today. Till next time, some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics. I'm the only show that can stumble over my own tagline and talk about politics. See you on Wednesday! Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.